The starship Horizon hung in the void, a sleek silhouette against the infinite darkness of deep space. Its hull gleamed with a subtle iridescence that seemed to shift and adapt to the surrounding emptiness. Lieutenant Aria Chen stood at the primary command interface, her fingers dancing across holographic displays that flickered with streams of impossible data. Around her, the bridge hummed with a quiet intensity that spoke of years of preparation. The mission before them was nothing short of extraordinary, a task that would have been dismissed as fantasy by any other species in the known galaxy. Humanity's newest deep space exploration vessel carried a weight far beyond its physical mass. Navigation systems are fully synchronized, reported Commander David Martinez from his station. His voice carried a hint of tension, barely masked by professional calm. The Horizon was more than just a ship. It was a testament to human ingenuity, a technological marvel that represented years of collaborative research and unprecedented innovation. The mission briefing had been delivered in absolute secrecy. Only a select few knew the true nature of their objective. What had begun as a routine deep space exploration had transformed into something far more complex. Intelligence gathered from multiple sources, some obtained through unconventional means, suggested the existence of a massive space station at the galaxy's core. The Nexus Citadel, as it was known, was more than just a political hub. It was the central nervous system of a galactic control network that had maintained a delicate balance of power for centuries. Aria remembered the classified briefing as if it were yesterday. The room had been stark, filled with the most brilliant minds humanity could assemble. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the lead xenopolitical strategist, had laid out the mission with clinical precision. "We're not just exploring," she had said, her eyes burning with an intensity that matched the importance of their task. "We're challenging the fundamental understanding of galactic governance." The ship's quantum adaptive systems represented a breakthrough that had shocked the scientific community. Traditional stealth technologies relied on simple light bending or electromagnetic interference. The Horizon's system was something entirely different, a living, thinking interface that could predict and adapt to environmental signatures at a quantum level. "Primary quantum resonance at optimal levels," announced Dr. Marcus Chen, the ship's lead physicist and Aria's brother. His fingers moved across holographic interfaces with a dancer's grace, each movement revealing layers of complex data that would have been incomprehensible to most observers. Their mission was deceptively simple on the surface: infiltrate the Nexus Citadel, gather intelligence, understand the true nature of the long-standing conflicts that had consumed multiple civilizations for generations. But everyone on board knew the stakes were far higher than a simple reconnaissance mission. The galaxy had been locked in a complex dance of controlled conflict for as long as recorded history. Multiple species maintained an uneasy balance, their interactions carefully managed by unseen forces. Humanity was the wild card, a species too young to understand the established rules, yet possessing a technological and cognitive flexibility that defied conventional understanding. "Adaptive camouflage systems are at maximum efficiency," reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim from the sensor station. Her voice was steady, but Aria could detect the underlying excitement. They were about to do something no other species had ever attempted. Aria took a deep breath, her eyes scanning the holographic star charts that surrounded her. The Nexus Citadel was more than a destination. It was a challenge, a complex puzzle that had remained unsolved for generations. Humanity had been deemed too young, too unpredictable to be trusted with the deeper truths of galactic politics. Now, they would prove everyone wrong. "Final system check," she commanded, her voice cutting through the bridge's anticipatory silence. Each crew member responded with precision. Navigational systems, quantum interfaces, communication networks, adaptive camouflage, life support. Every system reported optimal conditions. They were ready. The Horizon represented more than a technological achievement. It was a statement, a declaration that humanity would no longer accept the narratives presented to them. They would discover the truth, regardless of the consequences. As the ship prepared to engage its revolutionary propulsion system, Lieutenant Aria Chen allowed herself a slight smile. The impossible mission was about to begin. The engineering section of the horizon hummed with an energy that defied conventional understanding. Dr. Marcus Chen moved between holographic interfaces, his movements a careful dance of scientific precision. Surrounding him, a labyrinth of quantum processors and adaptive systems created a symphony of technological innovation that would have been incomprehensible to scientists just a decade earlier. Final calibration sequence initiated, Marcus muttered, more to himself than to the team surrounding him. The adaptive camouflage system was more than just a technological marvel. It was a living, breathing entity of computational brilliance. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched from a secondary station, her critical eye analyzing every minute detail of the system's performance. She had been the primary architect of this revolutionary technology, spending years developing a concept that most of her colleagues had dismissed as impossible. The core of their breakthrough was a quantum adaptive interface that could do more than simply hide the ship. It could understand and mimic the most complex environmental signatures at a subatomic level. Traditional stealth technologies relied on light bending or electromagnetic interference. The Horizon system was something entirely different, a sentient network that could predict, adapt, and integrate with its surrounding environment. Quantum resonance is stabilizing, announced Dr. Sarah Kim, her fingers dancing across a holographic display that seemed to pulse with living energy. We're seeing quantum entanglement patterns that shouldn't be possible with our current understanding of physics. Marcus leaned closer to the primary interface. The holographic representation before him was a complex web of interconnected quantum states, each point representing a potential interaction with the ship's adaptive systems. It was beautiful in its complexity, a digital mandala of technological potential. The first test had been nothing short of miraculous. During initial trials, the ship had not just disappeared from sensor arrays. It had become indistinguishable from the surrounding space, down to the most minute quantum fluctuations. Even the most advanced tracking systems couldn't detect a hint of its presence. We're rewriting the fundamental understanding of stealth technology, Elena said, her voice a mixture of scientific excitement and professional restraint. This is more than just hiding. We're creating a system that can essentially become its environment. Marcus nodded, pulling up a series of complex algorithmic sequences. The key is predictive adaptation. Traditional camouflage is reactive. Our system anticipates potential detection methods and adapts before they can even be initiated. The engineering team worked with a synchronized intensity. Each member understood they were part of something unprecedented. Humanity had always been known for its ability to innovate, to see possibilities where others saw limitations. This technology was the ultimate expression of that potential. A warning light flickered on one of the secondary displays. Dr. Kim frowned, zooming in on the anomalous reading. "We're detecting something strange in the quantum entanglement matrix," she reported, her voice a careful blend of concern and scientific curiosity. Marcus moved quickly, his fingers flying across the interface. The holographic display shifted, revealing layers of complex quantum interactions that seemed to pulse with an almost living intelligence. "It's learning," he whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. The adaptive system wasn't just mimicking its environment. It was understanding it. Each interaction created new predictive models, expanding the system's capabilities exponentially. What had started as a stealth technology was evolving into something far more profound. Elena approached the primary interface, her experienced eyes taking in the complex data streams. "We're looking at a potentially sentient adaptive network," she said, a note of awe creeping into her professional tone. "This goes beyond anything we've ever conceptualized." The implications were staggering. A technology that could not just hide, but understand. A system that could predict and integrate with its environment at a fundamental quantum level. They weren't just developing a method of concealment. They were creating a new form of technological intelligence. As the final calibration sequence completed, the engineering team stood in collective silence. They had done something that would change humanity's understanding of technology forever. The Horizon was more than a ship. It was a statement, a declaration of human potential that would echo through the galaxy. Marcus looked up, meeting Elena's gaze. No words were necessary. They both understood the magnitude of what they had achieved. The Nexus Citadel loomed before them, a massive construct that defied traditional understanding of space architecture. Its surface was a complex lattice of interconnected modules, each section pulsing with energy signatures that would have overwhelmed any conventional scanning system. But the Horizon was anything but conventional. Lieutenant Area Chen watched the holographic displays with intense concentration. The ship's adaptive camouflage was performing beyond even their most optimistic projections. They weren't just approaching the Citadel, they were becoming part of its complex ecosystem. Quantum integration at 98.7%. Dr. Marcus Chen reported from his station. His voice carried a mixture of scientific excitement and professional calm. We're not just mimicking the environment, we're engaging with it on a fundamental level. The first layers of the Nexus Citadel's defensive systems began to interact with the Horizon. What should have been an immediate detection and neutralization became something entirely unexpected. The ship's adaptive technology was engaging in a complex dialogue with the station's communication networks. Commander David Martinez leaned forward, studying the intricate data streams. "It's like we're having a conversation," he muttered, "but in a language we don't fully understand yet." Each moment of approach revealed new layers of complexity. The Nexus Citadel was more than a space station. It was a living network of political, technological, and social interactions that had maintained galactic balance for generations, and humanity was about to unravel its deepest secrets. Dr. Elena Rodriguez monitored the communication interfaces, her fingers moving with practiced precision across holographic controls. "We're seeing communication patterns that don't match any known diplomatic protocols," she announced. "It's as if the entire station is a single, complex organism." The ship's quantum adaptive systems began to map the Citadel's internal structures. What started as a simple infiltration mission quickly transformed into something far more extraordinary. Each system they touched revealed intricate connections, hidden pathways of information that had remained concealed for centuries. Preliminary data suggests multiple layers of communication, Lieutenant Sarah Kim reported. Her voice was steady, but Area could detect the underlying excitement. "We're not just seeing communication channels. We're witnessing an entire ecosystem of information." Suddenly, the ship's primary interface began to pulse with an unexpected rhythm. The adaptive systems were doing something none of the crew had anticipated. They were actively engaging with the Nexus Citadel's core networks. "Marcus, are you seeing this?" Area called out, her eyes locked on the shifting holographic displays. Dr. Chen's response was measured but filled with wonder. "It's more than data collection. We're establishing a form of communication that transcends traditional information exchange." The holographic displays began to transform, revealing complex webs of relationships that had remained hidden for generations. Political alliances, resource distributions, conflict management. The entire galactic political structure was laid bare before them. Commander Martinez studied the emerging data with a critical eye. "This goes beyond intelligence gathering," he said quietly. "We're witnessing the fundamental mechanics of galactic governance." Each moment brought new revelations. The conflicts that had consumed multiple civilizations for generations were not what they seemed. They were carefully managed systems of control, intricate mechanisms designed to maintain a delicate balance of power. Dr. Rodriguez's voice cut through the growing tension. "We're not just observers," she said. "We're potential game changers." The ship continued its infiltration, its adaptive systems moving through the Nexus Citadel's networks like a living current of information. What had begun as a covert mission was transforming into something far more significant. Area Chen realized they stood at a critical moment in human history. The discoveries they were making could fundamentally alter the understanding of galactic politics. The carefully maintained illusion of conflict was crumbling before their eyes. "Continue integration," she commanded, her voice steady. We're going deeper. The horizon pressed forward, its quantum adaptive systems creating a bridge between humanity and the most complex political network in known space. With each passing moment, the impossible was becoming possible. The communication interface on the horizon's bridge erupted into a kaleidoscope of quantum signatures. What had begun as a simple data connection transformed into something far more complex. Dr. Marcus Chen watched in awe as the ship's adaptive systems engaged with the Nexus Citadel's core intelligence in a manner that defied all previous understanding of interspecies communication. "It's not just an exchange of information," Marcus whispered, his fingers hovering over the holographic controls. "We're establishing a dialogue that transcends traditional communication protocols." Lieutenant Area Chen studied the rapidly evolving data streams. The ship's quantum adaptive technology was doing something unprecedented. Instead of triggering defensive systems or alarm mechanisms, it was creating a bridge of understanding that no other species had ever achieved. Commander David Martinez approached the primary interface, his experienced eyes tracking the impossible interactions. "This is beyond diplomatic communication," he observed. "We're witnessing a fundamental reimagining of how intelligence systems can interact." The Nexus Citadel's core began to respond in patterns that seemed almost organic. Layers of encrypted communication unfolded like a complex mathematical origami, revealing intricate networks of relationships that had remained hidden for generations. Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked furiously at her station, attempting to translate the emerging communication patterns. "It's not just data," she called out. "It's a form of collective intelligence that adapts in real time." Holographic representations of complex communication networks spread across the bridge, each interaction point pulsing with a living energy. The adaptive systems of the horizon were no longer just receiving information. They were actively participating in a dialogue that challenged everything known about interstellar communication. "Quantum resonance is stabilizing," reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim. "But it's not stabilizing in any way we've predicted. The communication is evolving." The first breakthrough came unexpectedly. A series of quantum signatures began to align in patterns that suggested more than simple information exchange. It was as if the Nexus Citadel's core intelligence was attempting to understand the humans as much as they were trying to understand it. Marcus leaned closer to the primary interface. "We're establishing a form of mutual comprehension," he said, his voice filled with a mixture of scientific excitement and wonder. "The adaptive systems are creating a translation mechanism that goes beyond language." Area recognized the significance of the moment. Humanity had always been known for its ability to adapt, to find connections where others saw only differences. Now their most advanced technology was proving that potential on an unprecedented scale. The communication continued to evolve. What should have been a simple intelligence-gathering mission was transforming into something far more profound. The horizon was not just collecting information, it was creating a new form of interstellar dialogue. "Multiple communication layers detected," Sarah reported. "We're seeing diplomatic, technological, and cultural information streams converging." Commander Martinez studied the emerging data with a critical eye. "This goes beyond our initial mission." The bridge of the horizon transformed into a cathedral of revelation. Holographic displays surrounded the crew, each projection revealing layers of galactic complexity that had remained hidden for generations. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of this information storm, her trained eyes tracking the impossible data streams that continued to pour in. "We're seeing something unprecedented," she announced, her voice cutting through the quiet tension of the bridge. "The conflict that has consumed multiple civilizations is not a war. It's a carefully constructed system of control." Lieutenant Area Chen studied the emerging patterns. What had begun as a simple reconnaissance mission was unraveling the most complex political mechanism in known galactic history. The Nexus Citadel was more than a space station. It was the central nervous system of an intricate governance network. Dr. Marcus Chen worked alongside his sister, his fingers dancing across quantum interfaces that seemed to breathe with living intelligence. "It's a regulatory system," he explained, pulling up complex visualizations. Each conflict, each diplomatic tension, they're not random. They're carefully managed population controls. The revelations came in waves. Resource allocation, technological development, population growth. Everything was meticulously monitored and controlled by an unseen mechanism. The various species of the galaxy had been participating in a grand system of management without even realizing it. Commander David Martinez approached the primary display, his experienced eyes taking in the complex information. "This goes beyond simple political manipulation," he said quietly. "We're looking at a fundamental method of maintaining galactic stability." Lieutenant Sarah Kim began cross-referencing the emerging data with historical records. Each comparison revealed more of the intricate truth. Conflicts that had seemed spontaneous were actually carefully orchestrated events, designed to maintain a delicate balance of power. "The system is more complex than we initially thought," Sarah reported. "Every major conflict, every diplomatic crisis, they're all part of a carefully managed mechanism." Arya recognized the significance of their discovery. Humanity had always been an outsider species, too young to understand the established rules of galactic politics. Now, they were exposing the very foundations of those rules. Dr. Rodriguez pulled up a series of complex data visualizations. "Look at the patterns," she said, her voice filled with a mixture of scientific excitement and profound realization. "Each conflict is mathematically precise. The casualties, the resource exchanges, the technological developments. The ship's quantum adaptive interfaces began to pulse with an intensity that defied conventional understanding. As the Horizon continued its deep infiltration of the Nexus Citadel's communication networks, something extraordinary started to happen. Dr. Marcus Chen watched in awe as the ship's systems began to expose hidden connections between supposedly opposing civilizations. Diplomatic channels that had been closed for generations suddenly became transparent, revealing a web of relationships more complex than anyone had ever imagined. "We're not just seeing information," Marcus called out to the bridge crew. "We're revealing the entire infrastructure of galactic communication." Lieutenant Arya Chen studied the emerging data streams. Each moment brought new revelations that challenged everything known about interstellar politics. The adaptive technology was doing more than gathering intelligence. It was actively rewriting the rules of galactic interaction. Commander David Martinez approached the primary interface, his experienced eyes tracking the impossible visualizations. Holographic representations of diplomatic networks spread across the bridge, each connection point pulsing with a living energy that seemed to breathe with complex information. "The entire system is interconnected," Dr. Elena Rodriguez reported, her voice a mixture of scientific excitement and profound realization. What appeared to be separate diplomatic channels are actually part of a single, intricate network. Lieutenant Sarah Kim began cross-referencing the emerging data with historical records. Each comparison revealed layers of manipulation that had remained hidden for generations. Conflicts that seemed random were actually carefully orchestrated interactions designed to maintain a delicate balance of power. The Horizon's adaptive systems continued to interface with the Nexus Citadel's core intelligence. What had begun as a simple mission of infiltration was transforming into something far more significant, a complete exposure of the galactic governance mechanism. "Look at this," Sarah called out, pulling up a series of complex data visualizations. Every major diplomatic incident, every technological exchange, every resource conflict, they're all connected by mathematical precision. Marcus leaned closer to the interface. The ship's quantum adaptive technology was creating connections that no other species had ever been able to perceive. It was as if they were seeing the galaxy's political infrastructure in 3 dimensions for the first time. "We're witnessing the actual mechanism of galactic control," he explained to the crew. "Not through direct intervention, but through a complex system of managed interactions." Arya recognized the significance of their discovery. Humanity had always been an outsider species, too young to understand the established rules of galactic politics. Now they were not just observing those rules. They were exposing them. The holographic displays continued to evolve, revealing intricate pathways of communication and control. Diplomatic channels that had seemed separate were shown to be carefully interconnected. Resource exchanges, technological developments, population movements, all were part of a grand, meticulously managed system. Commander Martinez spoke the thought that was on everyone's mind. "We're breaking through more than just communication barriers," he said quietly. "We're challenging the fundamental way galactic civilization maintains its balance." Dr. Rodriguez continued her analysis, her fingers moving across quantum interfaces that seemed to breathe with living intelligence. "Each interaction is part of a larger mechanism," she reported. "The conflicts, the diplomacy, the resource exchanges, they're all carefully controlled." The crew watched in growing amazement as decades of galactic history unfolded before them. What had appeared to be spontaneous conflicts were revealed as carefully managed interactions. Species were not truly in conflict. They were being managed like components of a vast, intricate system. "The turning point is happening right now," Arya said, her voice steady and calm. "We're exposing a truth that will change everything." The Horizon's adaptive systems continued to interface with the Nexus Citadel's networks, each moment bringing new revelations. The ship was no longer just gathering intelligence. It was actively reshaping the understanding of galactic civilization. Dr. Marcus Chen looked up, meeting his sister's gaze. No words were necessary. They both understood the magnitude of what was happening. Humanity was about to become the most significant disruptors in galactic history. With each passing moment, the impossible was becoming possible. The complex mechanisms of galactic control were being revealed, one quantum signature at a time. The turning point had arrived, and nothing would be the same again. The communication channels of the Nexus Citadel erupted into chaos. What had been a carefully maintained system of control was now experiencing a complete breakdown. Lieutenant Arya Chen watched as the adaptive systems of the Horizon continued to expose the intricate web of galactic manipulation. "We're not just presenting information," Dr. Elena Rodriguez announced, her voice cutting through the tension on the bridge. "We're fundamentally challenging the entire structure of galactic governance." Representatives from multiple civilizations began to appear in holographic form, their images flickering with a mix of confusion, anger, and growing understanding. The carefully constructed barriers between species were dissolving in real time. Commander David Martinez studied the emerging diplomatic interactions. "They're seeing the truth for the first time," he observed quietly. "Generations of controlled conflict are being exposed." Dr. Marcus Chen worked furiously at the quantum interfaces, tracking the cascading revelations. The Horizon's adaptive technology was doing more than just sharing information. It was creating a platform for unprecedented communication. "Look at the communication patterns," Marcus called out. "We're seeing direct interactions between species that have been artificially separated for generations." Lieutenant Sarah Kim began compiling the emerging data. Diplomatic channels that had been closed for centuries were suddenly opening. Species that had been portrayed as mortal enemies were now face to face with the reality of their manipulated conflict. The holographic displays transformed, showing intricate networks of relationships that had been hidden from view. Resource exchanges, technological developments, population movements, all were revealed as part of a carefully managed system. "The mechanism of control is collapsing," Dr. Rodriguez reported. Her voice carried a mixture of scientific excitement and profound realization. "We're witnessing the complete deconstruction of a galactic governance system." Arya recognized the significance of the moment. Humanity, a species long considered too young and unpredictable, was now the catalyst for the most significant revelation in galactic history. Representative holograms began to interact in ways that defied their previous diplomatic protocols. Species that had been portrayed as natural enemies were now engaging in direct communication, seeing the manipulation that had kept them apart. "We're not just sharing information," Commander Martinez said. "We're providing a platform for true understanding." The Nexus Citadel's core systems began to respond in unexpected ways. The adaptive technology of the Horizon was creating a communication network that transcended traditional diplomatic boundaries. Dr. Marcus Chen pulled up complex visualizations of the emerging interactions. Each connection is breaking down artificial barriers, he explained. We're seeing the potential for genuine interspecies communication for the first time. Arya watched the unfolding revelation. The mission had transformed from a simple intelligence-gathering operation into something far more profound. Humanity was offering the galaxy a new way of understanding itself. Continue exposure, she commanded, her voice steady and calm. We need to ensure every species understands the full truth. The diplomatic interactions continued to evolve. Species that had been manipulated into conflict for generations were now seeing the complex mechanisms that had controlled their interactions. Old enmities began to dissolve as the truth became clear. Lieutenant Sarah Kim tracked the emerging communication patterns. The entire system of galactic governance is being rewritten in real time, she reported. We're witnessing a complete transformation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez approached the primary interface, her eyes reflecting the magnitude of their discovery. This goes beyond diplomatic revelation, she said. We're offering a new paradigm of interspecies understanding. The holographic displays continued to pulse with living energy, each moment bringing new connections, new understandings. The carefully maintained illusion of conflict was crumbling, replaced by a potential for genuine communication. Commander Martinez spoke the thought that was on everyone's mind. We're not just exposing a truth, he said quietly. We're offering a path to a different kind of galactic civilization. Dr. Marcus Chen looked up, meeting his sister's gaze. No words were necessary. They both understood the magnitude of what was happening. Humanity had become the catalyst for a fundamental transformation of galactic society. With each passing moment, the impossible was becoming possible. The diplomatic revelation continued, quantum signature by quantum signature, changing everything. The aftermath of the revelation spread across the galaxy like a quantum wave of understanding. The horizon stood at the center of the most significant transformation in galactic history, its adaptive systems continuing to process the profound changes unfolding around it. Lieutenant Arya Chen watched the holographic displays with a mixture of wonder and responsibility. What had begun as a mission of discovery had become a catalyst for a complete reimagining of interspecies relationships. We're witnessing the birth of a new galactic paradigm, Dr. Elena Rodriguez announced, her voice carrying the weight of historical significance. The carefully maintained system of controlled conflict was dissolving, replaced by something far more complex and hopeful. Dr. Marcus Chen continued to analyze the emerging data streams. The adaptive technology of the horizon had done more than expose a truth. It had provided a platform for genuine understanding. Species that had been manipulated into conflict for generations were now engaging in direct, unfiltered communication. Commander David Martinez studied the diplomatic interactions with a critical eye. This is more than just information exchange, he observed. We're seeing the potential for true collaborative evolution. Lieutenant Sarah Kim tracked the cascading changes. Technological exchanges that had been artificially restricted were now flowing freely. Resource allocation systems that had been carefully controlled were being reimagined. The Nexus Citadel, once the central mechanism of galactic control, was transforming. Its complex networks were being repurposed from a system of manipulation to a platform of genuine communication and cooperation. Look at the emerging interaction patterns, Marcus called out, pulling up intricate holographic visualizations. We're seeing something unprecedented in galactic history. Arya recognized the profound nature of their achievement. Humanity, a species long considered too young and unpredictable, had become the agent of the most significant change in galactic civilization. The diplomatic holograms continued to interact in ways that defied previous understanding. Representatives from species that had been portrayed as natural enemies were now working together, sharing insights, and reimagining their collective future. We're not just breaking down barriers, Dr. Rodriguez explained. We're offering a new model of interspecies collaboration. The Horizon's adaptive systems continued to facilitate communication, creating a network that transcended traditional diplomatic boundaries. Each quantum signature seemed to pulse with potential, revealing new possibilities for understanding and cooperation. Commander Martinez approached the primary interface. "This is more than a diplomatic revolution," he said quietly. "This is a fundamental reimagining of how civilizations can interact." Sarah Kim compiled the emerging data, tracking the profound transformations happening across multiple star systems. "The entire concept of conflict is being rewritten," she reported. "We're seeing the potential for a truly collaborative galactic civilization." Arya watched the unfolding revelation. The mission had transformed from a simple intelligence-gathering operation into something far more profound. Humanity had offered the galaxy a new way of understanding itself, a path beyond manipulation and controlled conflict. "Continue facilitation," she commanded, her voice steady and calm. "We need to ensure this transformation continues." The adaptive technology of the Horizon continued to work, creating bridges of understanding where barriers had once existed. The carefully maintained illusion of inevitable conflict was being replaced by a vision of collaborative potential. Dr. Marcus Chen looked deeper into the emerging data patterns. "We're not just seeing the end of a system of control," he explained. "We're witnessing the birth of a new way of existing as a galactic civilization." Representatives from various species began to develop new frameworks of cooperation. Technological exchanges, resource sharing, and diplomatic interactions were being reimagined from the ground up. "This goes beyond diplomatic resolution," Dr. Rodriguez said, her eyes reflecting the magnitude of their discovery. "We're offering a completely new paradigm of interspecies existence." The holographic displays continued to pulse with living energy, each moment bringing new connections, new understandings. The potential for genuine collaboration seemed limitless. Commander Martinez spoke the thought that was on everyone's mind. "We've done more than expose a truth," he said. "We've opened a path to a different kind of future." Dr. Elena Rodriguez approached Arya, her expression a mixture of scientific excitement and profound hope. "Humanity has always been about potential," she said. "Today, we've shown the galaxy what that truly means." As the Horizon continued its mission, the galaxy around it was transforming. The old systems of control were dissolving, replaced by a new vision of collaborative potential. Quantum signature by quantum signature, a new chapter in galactic civilization was being written. Arya Chen looked out at the holographic representations of a changing galaxy. They had done more than complete a mission. They had opened the door to a future filled with unprecedented possibility.